One of the things that I don't like about the internet is the fact that you have a number of individuals out there, and there's a complete and utter lack of accountability, both from them and their so-called audiences, which is one of the primary reasons that you don't see me fool around with the so-called black manosphere, which has just become a winosphere. A bunch of know-nothings who know nothing. If you really want to know if you have a piece of reliable information, here's a very simple metric for you. Ask the person to predict for you accurately what's going to occur. Not giving you their opinion or stating, well, here's what I bet you gonna happen. I bet you this gonna happen. They say, I bet you nothing. Tell them, tell us what's going to occur going forward. The reason why this is a channel dedicated to power dynamics is because that's something you can rely on. And one of the bedrock principles that I've given you, it's not an opinion, it's not an I bet. It is one of the bedrock principles that I have distributed to you all since you first met me, is to understand something. A woman will never step down. She is never going to happily, gladly step down. Oh, don't get me wrong. When she's sitting in front of whoever the man she's with, who's paid her way and taken care of her, at that moment, at that time, oh, she's going to talk every type of straight cash money crap you can imagine at that moment. Because you see, the penalty for doing so is relatively low at that moment. It's relatively low. But the bill starts coming due. Because you see, there's a problem with the world here. The problem with the world is that you have a whole bunch of folks out here who are not going to be paying the penalty that you will. And because of that, they wish they could be in a tenth of your shoes. So they're going to say all manner of idiocy to reinforce it. Here's an article, a golden oldie from the Evening Standard. Triumph of the former Mrs. Amazon. What Mackenzie Scott dig next. Jeff Bezos' ex-wife is quietly thriving, says Lucy Pavin. And boy, if you were dumb enough to fall for this and believe it, you might have been one of the idiots out there repeating it. Well, it must be true. Somebody put it on the website. It must be true. And Lucy Pavia wrote the article that you see there. And Mackenzie Scott, the woman who helped her ex-husband build the Amazon empire, has quietly been thriving after the most expensive divorce settlement in history. The billionaire philanthropist remarried 2 years after her divorce from Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, tying the knot with Dan Jewett, a science teacher at her children's school. Let me say that again. She married a science teacher at her children's school. You know, the school that her ex-husband, the private school they were paying for, that he was paying for. She hooked up with a science teacher at the children's school. That is the definition of a step down and a fall, not just a step down, but a falling off. This is a woman who was able to finagle $40 billion out of her ex-husband, and the most that could get you, all that could get you, was a science teacher. That's not a letdown, that's a bust down. The most she could do is get a science teacher. The most she could do is get a science teacher. Think about that for a few moments. And not only that, see, here's the part that they don't want to talk about here. By the way, here's the part that they don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about it because it doesn't sound very flattering. But it lines up exactly with what I predicted from the very beginning here. Because she had a chance to finally digest her new life. And after she had a chance to do that, oh hell. Headline here from Vanity Fair. Mackenzie Scott has filed for divorce from her second husband, Dan Jewett, a little over a year after they tied the knot. They got married in March of 2021, and a little over a year after they got married, she's now getting her second divorce. Can you find the source of instability in this marriage? In all her relationships? Can anybody identify the singular source of instability and emotional imbalance? I wonder if he gets half, by the way. I wonder if Mr. Jewett gets half. Shouldn't he get half? He's been there with her through thick and thin, through tough times and good and bad. I mean, isn't he entitled to get half of what she's got? Isn't he entitled to that? We don't want to sit up here and start screwing up the rules now, do we? Shouldn't he get half of that? There are lessons I want you all to learn here. If you agree with what you're hearing here tonight, give me a thumbs up in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. If you don't, I'll just go ahead and shut it down here in a couple of minutes. I'll go ahead and shut it down in a couple of minutes if you don't. That's fine too. I had said the entire time while other idiots and bozos on the internet were trying to tell you all, oh, don't worry, McKenzie Bezos gonna be straight. And I said, it's not about the money. She's never gonna find another Jeff Bezos. She is going to look far and wide, but what she wants is another Jeff Bezos, because you see, right now, it is an embarrassment for her to show her face in public, because everybody and their mama recognizes her as the former Mrs. Bezos. Nobody recognizes her with the man that she's with now. She is a status symbol to the guy she was with. He did nothing to elevate her status or her standard. He didn't even hold it up. It wasn't even a step over. It was just this tremendous falling off of a cliff. And from there, whatever value you got from being with this fella evaporated. I want to read for you all a story here. I want to read for you a story from The Guardian. From The Guardian's coverage of her divorce from her second husband. And I want you to listen to this, because there's lessons for you to learn that the winosphere has never picked up. There's a reason why they couldn't predict that this was going to happen, and I predicted it the entire time. There's a reason for that. The Guardian newspaper says billionaire Mackenzie Scott files for divorce from second husband. Mackenzie Scott, the novelist and billionaire novelist, people, this is what happens when you're kissing ass on billionaires, but okay. Mackenzie Scott, the novelist and billionaire philanthropist who was formerly married to the Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, has filed for divorce from her second husband. Citing court records, the New York Times reported that Scott filed for divorce from Dan Jewett in Washington State on Monday. Scott divorced Bezos, one of the world's richest men, in 2019, amid tabloid reporting about his relationship with a TV host. Scott received $38 billion. She promised to donate her entire fortune to charity, signing on to the Giving Pledge, an initiative under which the super rich can commit to philanthropic endeavor. So there goes all that wealth. Scott has made sizable gifts to aid good causes, including providing affordable housing. Jewett was a science teacher at a Seattle private school to which Scott and Bezos sent their children. The couple married in March last year. Describing Jewett to the Times, a friend said he was, quote, earnest, not very edgy, the perfect person to end up with this money to give away. No sense of greed at all. Did you all hear that? That's damning. This is how they described her so-called new husband. This is how they described him. He's earnest, not very edgy, the perfect person to end up with this money to give away. No sense of greed at all. In a letter published by the Giving Pledge, Jewett said he was, quote, grateful for the exceptional privilege it will be to partner in giving away assets with the potential to do so much good when shared. People, this is hoboism. That was him talking about the money that she got from her ex-husband. That's him talking about that. That's him. He said he was, quote, grateful for the exceptional privilege it will be to partner in giving away her assets with the potential to do so much good when shared. He added, quote, in a stroke of happy coincidence, I am married to one of the most generous and kind people I know, and joining her in a commitment to pass on an enormous financial wealth to serve others. Well, that sounds pretty good and pretty nice, huh? Until you get to the next paragraph. Y'all, she blindsided his little dopey ass. Listen to the next paragraph. On Wednesday, the Times noted that Jewett's letter no longer appears on the Giving Pledge page for Scott. The paper also noted that, quote, without fanfare, his name was recently edited out of a Medium post Miss Scott had written last year about their gifts, as well as Scott's Amazon page. In her letter on the Giving Pledge website, Scott writes, quote, we each come by the gifts we have to offer by an infinite series of influences and lucky breaks we can never fully understand. In addition to whatever assets life has nurtured in me, I have a disproportionate amount of money to share. Y'all, she done X'd him out already. Before she even let you know they were getting divorced, she already went back and has gone and sanitized him from everything else that was on there. That shows you how consequential he is. That shows you how badly busted up she was about it right there. You see, there is when you have a emotional instability, there are a bunch of folks who will feed into it. They'll feed into it for you because they can capitalize off of it. But ultimately, you got to carry the freight for it. And she might have been looking for a situation where she was, quote unquote, looking for somebody easier to knuckle under. That's a way in which a lot of women, most women, find themselves in bad situations when they've been dealing with somebody who is actually a powerful individual. When they can't really deal with that situation very well, they go off and go look for a male that they can dominate very easily. And unfortunately, a lot of them do find that they find someone they can dominate very easily, and he ain't worth dominating. He's not worth keeping. He does nothing to elevate your image. You already got all the money in the world. Your money issue has been solved. What about your status issue, your security issue? You don't have a man that you feel is leading you. You didn't just take a step down. You fell the hell off, which is why I said to you all the entire time, McKenzie Bezos is never going to find another Jeff Bezos. Anybody that she gets with after this will be a complete and utter total disaster. Did I call it? Or did I call it? Did I call it or did I call it? While the rest of the folks on YouTube were telling you about she was going to ride off into the sunset and how great it was going to be and how wonderful it was going to be. And I'm sitting there telling you, don't you all know her soul is breaking into pieces every time she walks into a room, and people used to walk straight up to her and say, hey, Mrs. Bezos. And she had that pride of having that. Now folk just look at her and be like, oh, it's you and the science teacher. And the folks and the clowns on YouTube and Twitter and Reddit were sitting up there telling you about how great it was going to be. Her soul broke into pieces, knowing that she was carrying the freight for him. That the best she could do with her so-called name and accomplishment of being married to Jeff Bezos, and the best she could do was a science teacher. Remember Megan Good? The best she could do was a tatted up, half flunky physical fitness trainer, allegedly. That's the best you could do. That's all you could get. And there's more to it. As you all have heard, Tom Brady's wife is now wanting to file for divorce, and she's already showing all the emotional instability you could imagine there. It's gotten ugly. How ugly is it right now? Folks, she was recently spotted there, I think in Miami. She's gone off somewhere, and you can see what it says. She's a model. Was it the former Victoria's Secret angel was spotted with a smudge stick? This woman that she's with is some feng shui or whatever therapist with a smudge stick burning sage around Gisele's car. This is some so-called spiritual healer. They got a bunch of photographs. She's walking around Gisele's car with a smudge stick and burning incense and sage. When a woman is experiencing severe emotional turmoil, she starts resorting to wacky religious spiritual practices and routines intended to distract her from the unpleasant reality that she's in. She's trying to transcend it. And this is what the hell she ended up with. This is a bad look. It makes Tom look a lot smarter for letting this go. She's literally walking around a damn car with incense and a smudge stick. Think about this for a few moments. Does that say balance to you? Does that say balance to you at all? She's left from the divorce lawyer's place to a spiritual healer. I wonder how much Granny is charging her for this nonsense. I wonder how much she's charging for this. Are any of her friends getting a hold of her and saying, hey, you okay, sis? You're looking kind of crazy out here right now. Hell no. You know why? Because this is when they start circling like vultures. There's a reason why when women have breakups like this, they recede and recess and collapse into themselves. You know why? Because all their friends are out to get them. All their friends are out to see how much they can squeeze out of you. All your friends are out to do that. Let me tell y'all something right now. This woman right now knows full damn well every single female that she's ever talked to in life is trying to figure out how to get at her ex-husband now. Every single one of them is trying to figure out how to get at her husband. Nobody wants to talk to her. And let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit more so you can see a little bit here. She's looking old. She 42 years old now? She's looking old out here. Who's gonna come and scoop this up off the pavement? You tell me, after 2 or 3 kids with Tom Brady, who's coming to scoop her up off of the pavement? This is not gonna be a fall down. This is gonna be a fall off of a damn cliff. Who is going to come and scoop her up at 42 so that she can come do to them what she just did to Tom? Who is going to sit up here and do that? Sitting on the internet with your crazy whacked out friends, this all sounds great. When your sanity and your mental stability starts tearing itself asunder because it's just you and the Golden Girls burning sage around your damn car, that's not such a great feeling. That's not such a great feeling. The best she qualifies for is some younger than her little sugar daddy who'll lay up for a minute, but he's not gonna sit up here and buy her a mansion or do any damn thing else. And Ben Affleck was the last train leaving for all these over 40-something broads. That's done. That's a wrap. You might as well go ahead and take up a relationship with grandma over here because that's the best it's going to be. It hasn't dawned on her yet. You know why? Because people still associate her name with Tom Brady. It will dawn on her once they are legally divorced and she can no longer milk his name. Now that's when the sunshine's gonna streak in and it's gonna hit her like a ton of bricks that nobody really gives a damn who you are, Gisele. And whoever it was who enticed you and encouraged you to go off and engage in this suicide pact, none of them are gonna help you step it back up again when the interviewers stop calling. Because you don't actually do anything. ESPN doesn't want to talk to you for a segment anymore. None of them are going to be looking to do that. The L'Oreal people don't care about you. They trying to talk to Kylie and Kendall Jenner. Don't worry, going to get there in a minute. What are you going to do then? Right now, you can milk it. You're not going to have that option very soon. It's going to be a hell of a wake-up call when you realize that nobody wants to talk to you. And all the folks on the internet who are talking all that garbage, they're going to be trying to get at your husband if they had the opportunity. It doesn't matter anymore. Don't be surprised if she decides at the last minute not to follow through with this, by the way. Don't be surprised if that occurs. If somebody talks some sense to her, she'll stop at the last minute. We'll see. In the housekeeping section of what I do here, by the way, one more time to remind you, because I never let this one go. One more time to remind you that, by the way, remember, I've been reminding you about this relentlessly. Talk about your women who are not going to take a step down Seems like every time you turn around now, old Kim Kardashian is invoking Kanye's name. You know why? Because there's nothing to be gained from invoking Pete Davidson. She went back into the sexual marketplace and all she could bring back was that freaking weirdo. That was all she could do. She said, oh, let me get the hell up out of here. This ain't a good look. It adds more status to my name to be beefing with Kanye than to be booed up with Pete. That's exactly what the hell happened. I want to read to you here some from this article here. It'll bring a little bit of a warm fuzzy to you. It'll bring a little bit of a warm fuzzy to you. I think so. Kim Kardashian reveals on, quote, The Kardashians that Kanye West still criticizes what she wears. This is dated yesterday. On the October 6th episode of the show, Kim Kardashian shared texts from Kanye bashing what she was wearing at Milan Fashion Week. Now listen to this. On October 6th, Kim Kardashian heads to Milan to watch her younger sister Kendall Jenner walk in the Prada show. While in Italy, Kardashian wears a handful of outfits that Prada selected for her, and Kanye had thoughts about it. While in Milan, Kardashian received a text from her ex-husband with feedback on what she'd been wearing, which included an all-black look with sunglasses and a brown-orange jumpsuit. For West, neither was a winner. Quote, no white glasses, Kardashian 41 reads off her phone, telling the room that it's a message from Kanye referring to the white sunglasses she'd recently worn. Quote, the orange look made me so mad. Would have went to jail before I went out in that, she reads in another message from West, referring to the jumpsuit, which Jenner also didn't like, she said on the show. Kardashian laughed off both of these messages, saying in a confessional that while she was in Italy, that West was at home with the kids. Now, I want you all to listen to this next paragraph, because while all of the sorry, sad sacks and clowns of the black winosphere got all of this wrong all this time on the little pea shooter YouTube channels where they mess it up every day, listen to the next paragraph and you tell me if this reminds you of something that you heard from me. This is the next paragraph. This is quoting Kim Kardashian about Kanye. She says, quote, he can't help himself, she said on the show of West 45. Quote, we can laugh about things we like or don't like. No matter how crazy things are sometimes, we're always gonna be family. And I'll text him back and be like, you know, you have been wearing those boots for a long time. So when you're ready to change your outfit, let me know, and then you can have advice on mine. I thought over there in the black winosphere that them dudes knew something. I thought they had some kind of special insight. It just seems like a bunch of brainless lames over there who didn't know a damn thing. I've been saying this the entire time. Did you hear what she said there? We're always gonna be family. It doesn't, she said, no matter how crazy things are sometimes, we're always gonna be family, and I'll text him back and be like, whoa, but I thought a bunch of the Nimrods on the internet who claim up and down they understand these things, I thought when they were saying the total opposite of what I've been saying all this time, I thought their shit was finally going to come in. Kim just sat here and vomited all over them and confirmed everything I've been saying the entire time. She was never okay with Pete. She was doing that to thumb him in the eye. Kanye was doing too much. You got to get back in good with Kris Kardashian because she's the one who leads this damn thing. But if she's got a choice, she is never going to alienate that man. She is too damn smart for that. And she just said in front of the world what I've been reminding you about here the entire time. She ain't taking a step down. And by the way, this is People Magazine. What about all the hit pieces that folk been trying to put out about Kanye all this time? Talking about Kim needs to be worried. Kim needs to be scared. Kanye is dangerous. Kanye is talking. Kanye is stalking. Oh, this is dangerous. And what the hell did Kim just say there on national television in front of all of them? He can't help himself. No matter how crazy things are sometimes, We're always gonna be family. Now, I want you to think, if you are a man trying to snuggle up in the bed next to Kim Kardashian, I want you to read those damn words, because she means every syllable of it. She said publicly, no matter how crazy things get sometimes, we will always be family. This man bought her, what, 4 or 5 Maybachs? You think she's ever going to trade that in for Pete Davidson's struggle love? First time you met Pete Davidson, he was driving her Rolls Royce. That wasn't a step down. That was confirmation, baby. Who you think you fooling? Who you think you fooling? I have always conceded that one way or another, you're going to see her back with Kanye, whether it's on the low or whether it's on top. You're going to see that at some point, because the bottom line is he was the best she could do. And now she has to publicly concede that she cannot do any better. And I said it the entire time, and now here it is. However, some folks might feel differently about that. Although if you do, you're just dead wrong. Just drop it. But in any case, some folks may try to hang tough on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines and open up Zoom for you here now, because I want to have a conversation with you about that, to ask a very simple question. Does a woman ever willfully step down? Does she ever willingly do that? When she's had a chance to sit and digest and decompress, is she ever going to be okay with that? Now, in the crap talking, trash talking world of social media, for people who do not have to live under the consequences of these decisions, a bunch of folks who the best they could ever hope to get from Jeff Bezos is a incorrect phone call if they had a last name that was somehow close to his. But other than that, for these other folks out here, do you think she's going to be okay with that? Do you think McKenzie Bezos was okay with that? I said the entire time, hell no, it's going to eat away at her soul. She made it 1 year, and all of the washed up middle-aged Sex and the City rejects writing all these articles couldn't say a damn word that comforted that woman. Not a word. I predicted it the whole time, because that's the only way that it could ever occur. Does a woman ever willfully step down? Does she ever willfully take a downgrade? I didn't say whether or not their friends on the internet reinforce that. When she's sitting there by herself in the dark hours of the night, when she's sitting up trying to figure out about going back out in the public again, when she's got to think about the fact that people are looking at her, is she going to be okay with that? Is she going to be all right clearly looking a man in the eye and telling him it's okay that you don't perform at the level that I'm used to experiencing? And I'm not even talking about billionaires. I'm not even talking about that. I'm saying, as a woman, you're going to have a very hard time accepting a reality where you have to say, you know what, I'll go ahead and take a downgrade. It sounds great on paper. It sounds great in the short term, as long as you are not being required to stand by it. It sounds great in the short term. You got family and friends, most of them not having their act together, and they'll sit up there and support that. But boy, if you have to live under it, that's going to be a hard ass row to hoe. The telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the program that all of your favorite YouTubers talk trash about behind your back, behind our backs, as it were. And I did this tonight because this is one of these programs where I want to follow up on these things. This is one of those programs where I have to do that, because the amount of misinformation out here right now is not just staggering, it's absolutely embarrassing. I did my program here where I explained to you all exactly what was happening in this circumstance. And of course, your black winosphere is just outright lying and claiming things that are just not true. I guess that's what you have to resort to when you've lost all your credibility. There's a reason you guys don't have any credibility. For the teeny bopper set, I suppose they can do that. But over here in the real world, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. These same folks who are going to be claiming that they're going to be giving aid and comfort here, they're not going to have the opportunity to do that. You know why? Because you're not there to help the broken image and the broken esteem. You're not there for that. And if you're missing that, then that's going to cause more problems than it solves. Let me go ahead here and open up Zoom for you. I got a couple of folks there also on the telephone lines. You all can go ahead and give us a call at 646-787-1933. Let me go ahead and get Dan. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? What's on your mind? I don't think your mic is on. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay, Dan is trying to figure out how to get his stuff working over there for whatever reason. So you're on now, but for whatever reason, he is not able to get his act together. So let's go ahead and see if we can try to get somebody else up in here in the meantime. I also consider it to be a mark to be able to predict these things in advance, because a lot of folks don't know how to do that. And because they don't know how to do that, they have issues with being able to give you reliable insight. It's a nice thing if you are able to get that kind of insight accurately beforehand. That's nice to be able to do that, especially where young people are concerned. You have a lot of young folk out here, and particularly where the males are concerned. The reason why there is so much dissatisfaction is because they are not certain exactly how to assert themselves. They're not certain exactly how to assert themselves, and because there's so much misinformation being given, they're coming away with the idea that they don't have as much power and credibility as they think they do. There's a reason why I've always told you that what you need to do is make sure that you are maintaining yourself in the most powerful, productive, influential position that you can have, because that is the number one means by which you reward your friends and punish your enemies. The real thing is that people having access to you is supposed to be a life changer. That can be a hard thing for some folks to understand, but people having access to you is supposed to be a life changer. People having access to you is supposed to alter the way that they do things. People having access to you is supposed to be a big step up. They're supposed to be depressed and on antidepressants and in therapy. They're supposed to be doing that if you're not around. That's what's supposed to occur. They're supposed to be having that. And that's a difficult thing for a lot of fellas to be able to wrap their heads around, because when you are disposable, then you end up in a situation where everything turns into a damn suicide contest. My number one thing to you has been simply to advise you, do not be disposable. But Jason, how can you prevent being disposable? First and foremost, starting with the value that you bring and present. It's not supposed to be ambiguous. It's not supposed to be ambiguous. It's supposed to be clear to everybody. People who know you, people who don't. The biggest issue that you have is getting people to understand what your value is as an individual. But that value isn't intrinsic. This is why I say lead with your accomplishments. Leading with your accomplishments doesn't mean leading with your wallet. No matter where you are, if you're a man simply in the top 20% of the men where you are, that's a winning move. That's a winning move by itself. When you are organized, when everything is in place, when it's not ambiguous, when you have that, then all of a sudden you call hands on it. That's when they start talking about things like options. But you can't exercise options you don't actually have. Let me go ahead and get to the telephone lines here. Let me get caller from area code 773. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
What's going on, Jason Black? This is Dane from Chicago.
Dane from Chicago, what's on your mind?
I just want to chime in what you was talking about. You know what? That actually make a whole lot of sense because we see it every day in the real world, not with just millionaires and billionaires. You see this with chicks would do this to dudes who making $100,000 a year or $90,000 a year. You know what I'm saying? And these particular type of dudes be the best that they got. Either one or two things, and even one or two things that usually happen. They usually don't have no respect for him in the date in the gate because the dude he ain't laying his lick down on her. Or she'll try to trade him in and thinking she gets something better because she got sexual options, but ain't nobody gonna cuff that. You know what I'm saying? So
that can be very
right
deceptive for certain people. If you're an individual, and you don't have to be a supermodel, but if you're a female who you've been accustomed to getting a lot of ready male attention, it can be very deceptive about what you actually have influence for doing. Remember, I've always taught you all is that when females are young, they confuse sexual attention for tangible benefits. When they're in their 20s, they can trade sexual attention for tangible benefits. As you get older, sexual attention can only be traded for sexual attention. And it can become very easy to lose sight of that. Now, particularly if a female who might have a little bit of a name for yourself, you're living in a fantasy world. These women are not coming back at 40 years old and trading back in for something like what they had. They're at 40 years old and trading for loneliness and the way they just disappear. The only ones who don't are the ones who maybe just stick around Hollywood, but then again, they just become these aging matriarchs, but they don't actually have any real power. The bottom line is you're not going to get another Tom Brady. You're not going to get another Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's a fact.
That is not going to occur. And what I'm saying is, what does that do to you when you're a woman who, up until then, if you had the worst aspects of your nature being taken advantage of, what do you do after that? That's going to be a hell of a fall to take. What do you do after that? Think about this for a few moments. Vivica Fox is still running around talking about 50 Cent. 50 Cent's first wife is still running around talking about him. Darlene Ortiz is still talking about Ice-T. The ones who do come back into public, take a look at what occurs. You never forget the best that you were with because that was the best you ever were. Let me go ahead and say that one more time. You never forget the best that you were with because that was the best that you ever were. Let's be very, very clear. Gisele Bündchen, the top of her game is the last decade or so she's been with Tom Brady. That's it. That is it. It's not going to get any better. You're not going any higher. Jameis Winston or whoever else is coming to the NFL, they ain't looking to come take up where Tom left off at. They're not coming to take a look at that.
I was just about to.
Somebody in the chat room was talking about Larsa Pippen. Take a look at what the hell she got. There hasn't been another Scotty showing up. It doesn't matter what the hell's going on. There's not going to be another Scotty rolling up. All she can do right now is go hang out with Michael Jordan's son or whatever. But there isn't another man of that magnitude who is looking to step in and do anything. As a matter of fact, there's nobody stepping in to do anything. Nobody. Now, the very fact that she is running around with MJ's son, what does that tell you? That tells you that she has already conceded defeat. Do you realize how crazy you look running around with Future and Michael Jordan's son? You look crazy. You look crazy and silly as hell. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to communicate to the world when you do something like that? There's no way that, as a female, you know that your psyche is broken when that occurs. That's the consequence of having to take a step down. That's the consequence of having to deal with that. When that occurs, everything else disintegrates. Everything else falls to pieces. Because when you were running good and running hot and everything was looking great and you had a great look to you, you go everywhere. You go everywhere. You meet everybody. You talk to as many people as you can. You can't wait to go out and go socialize with people. When you lose that, then what happens? When you lose that, then what do you do? When you lose that, all of a sudden, all the places you used to go and all your favorite haunts and all the places where folk used to sit up and run up to you and talk to you, all the social clubbing, all your favorite stores and outlets you wanted to go to, all of a sudden you don't want to do that. Why would you? Why would you? If you'll all remember, when McKenzie Bezos divorced Jeff Bezos, a bunch of folk were like, well, Jason, he gave her billions of dollars. I was like, do you all understand what that really means? Do you understand what that really means? That's not a great thing. That's not a great thing at all. That's a badass situation to be in. That's a bad situation to be in. And you all have to understand that a lot of these scum-sucking publications and whatnot, they are sitting up here really, really worried. They don't like it. They don't like it because they're in a situation of looking up here waiting for ad dollars, and they don't like talking about this kind of thing. They don't like talking about this. Because there's one thing that they didn't mention here, and I had to remind you all about this before. This is where things get ugly. Mackenzie Scott is 52 years old now. Let me remind you one more time. She's 52 years old now. And if that sounds a little bit familiar, it probably should. What was she gonna catch at 50 years old? I don't give a damn how many shekels you got. What was she expecting to get at 52 years old? What was she looking to grab at 52 years old? 52.
A young nigga.
Well, that's exactly what she probably got. The real thing is what you will not have as a producer. So I hope that you get a tremendous amount of emotional satisfaction out of having this roommate around. Because here's the real issue. How much does a science teacher have going for himself compared to a woman who is married to Mr. Amazon? How much does a science teacher have going for themselves compared to the fellow who could buy you a BMW 5 Series, a fellow who was making moves, a fellow who was getting things done? You see, you have to understand, as a man, our value comes from what we do and our accomplishments. The fact that we got stuff going on before you get up in the mornings, that's what gives us value. That's what gives us value. And that is what gives a woman status. When I talk about the value of the man next to her, what is he doing in the morning? Jeff Bezos is conquering the damn universe. Literally. Jeff Bezos is literally conquering the universe. Rocket ship company and all. She left that to get with a science teacher, and think about this for a few moments. Oh, I'm going to go there. Think about this for a few moments. Mackenzie Bezos, the man that she, by the way, did she ever refer to herself as Mackenzie Jewett? Oh, yeah, one more thing. If y'all want to go hit and Google, did she ever refer to herself as Mackenzie Jewett? She certainly referred to herself as Mackenzie Bezos. Did she ever refer to herself as Mackenzie Jewett? Yikes. That's number one. Number two, Jeff Bezos is mapping the stars and the planets. Her second husband is sitting around talking to his students about what Jeff Bezos does. Think about that for a second. Your new husband is coming home from work discussing what your ex-husband does because he's got to. Checkmate, woman. Checkmate. I'll let you have the last word.
It's bad. Yeah, I like how you just put that last part. Yeah, that's a bad look on her. I was thinking when you read that article and they said that she married the science school teacher that go to her kid's school. I wanted to bet you that they was fucking around while she was married to Jeff Bezos. Anyway, because ain't no way. That's all I got to say.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't bother Jeff because the real reason is there's a real messy story behind it to begin with. But thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Jeff Bezos was already dealing with this woman down there in South America, as you all know. But the real issue is Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. If you all really want to find out what happened with his marriage, go look up Pegasus and Pegasus 2. There's an Israeli company that makes this spy software. And because Jeff Bezos, if you all remember, there was a reporter named Khashoggi, and basically the crown prince of Saudi Arabia had him killed because he was criticizing the kingdom, even though he wasn't even in Saudi Arabia anymore. So they killed him. And the Washington Post and a bunch of other newspapers talked about this, but the Washington Post in particular went in on it. And so the Saudis paid this Israeli company basically to hack Jeff Bezos' cell phone. And that was how they found out about his mistress. They threatened him. They told him that if you keep talking about us, we're going to leak to the world and to your wife that you've been, that you got a mistress. Jeff Bezos called their bluff and he outed himself over it. He admitted it himself. So they were trying to blackmail him and he admitted it himself. So that's what happened there. Here's the real issue. Mackenzie, you fell for the damn bait from the Saudis. Here's the real issue. Jeff is still with his side chick. How you sleeping tonight? Jeff is still the man that everybody wants to talk to. How many interviews you trying to get except from people who are trying to figure out how to juice money out of you? People want to talk to Jeff Bezos. People want to talk to you about getting some change. How did that little stunt work out for you? Because all the people who sat up here and encouraged you to go call a divorce lawyer, none of those people are there to help you today. Let me get caller from area code 706. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from? Caller from 706. You're on live.
Oh, hello?
Put the crack pipe down. What is your name? Where you calling from?
What's it? My name is Lanisha, and I'm calling from Georgia. I guess it's Ty out in the country. What's
okay. All right, Lanisha, and what is on your mind, such as it is?
Well, I don't know how I end up on things like this. I guess I just was interested in the topic. I was wondering, do women have to have a relationship in order for them to just live their lives and be successful?
Okay, define for me success for a woman.
Well, see, that's the thing, because
okay, that was a simple question. Can you define for me? You're the one who used the term. Define for me what is success for a woman. Take two.
Okay, so success for a woman could be a lot of things, right? Like some people look at success as just being a mom. Some people want to run a Fortune 500 company. Some people, I mean, it depends on who you're talking about.
Okay, show me the woman who is revered by other women because she is, quote, the CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
Sarah Jakes Roberts. I mean, are you asking me what woman had it?
No, show me the female that when you go to social media or anywhere else, you see other women talking about they wish they could be like her because she's a Fortune 500 CEO.
I see that all the time.
No, you don't, ma'am. You're lying. If I told you to go to Facebook and search it right now, you couldn't find it. So don't come here lying.
I couldn't.
You can't find a Facebook. You cannot find a man. No, ma'am.
Like women who are successful and run businesses.
No, you cannot show me, ma'am, for the umpteenth time. because you're just lying now, which is what you have to do when there's no truth to substantiate what you're saying. You cannot show me a group of females who are, ma'am, we do not talk over the host here. Ma'am, put your weed back up. We don't talk over the host here. You embarrassed yourself. All I'm doing is just putting a spotlight on it. There is no place where you're going to find a group of females together sitting up talking about, boy, I wish we could be like XYZ female CEO. No, you don't. Show us where it is right now.
I just told you I'm one of those.
No, ma'am. No, nobody. No, ma'am. Nobody knows. Nobody knows you.
I would be the woman in the comment like I wish I could be like her.
Okay, so in other words, you're just some contrarian who's just going to be difficult for being difficult's sake. But you know what you're not? You don't represent other women.
I mean, I represent me. You asked
correct.
About women.
Thank you, man. I asked about women. I didn't ask about you. I asked about women.
Okay, and I'm telling you that I know other women who
aspire
to be successful business owners.
No, you don't. It's not about being a successful business owner. You said about wanting to be a Fortune 500 CEO. Women don't look up to each other for that. A woman's money doesn't impress other women.
No, we love seeing women in luxury.
Okay, let's try this again. No woman's money impresses another woman.
No, I love seeing women with money.
Didn't say that. We said that no woman's money, you don't listen very well, not a very bright cookie. Ma'am, no woman's money impresses another woman. There is no woman saying, damn, she's more of a... There is no woman who says, damn, that chick over there is more of a woman because of how much money she makes.
Are you telling me that her relationship status is what makes her successful?
Okay, the first thing we are establishing is that, understand, in the world of liars, they have to lie their way through life. No woman is impressed by the income of another woman. Doesn't matter if she's a CEO or not. Her income does not impress other women.
You, as a man, are telling me, as a woman, that
we're going to establish that one fact first. There is no woman who sat up here and looked. First of all, it won't happen to you. But second of all, even if it could, no woman ever looked at another woman and said, damn, she's more of a woman than me because of her income.
I never looked at her man and said that either.
I'm sure you wish you could. There's a big difference.
Why?
But there's one thing that's for certain. It doesn't, her CEO status, ma'am, her CEO status does not impress other women. Now, the man that she's with will impress other women.
Okay, now
the
that we
quality,
that you know that.
Ma'am, be quiet. The quality of man that a woman has does impress other women. A woman's income does not impress other women. The quality of man she has, well, that can. Now that can do it. But nobody gives a damn about your income. And especially other women. You know why? Because they know they're not going to get any benefit from it.
I must have woke up with a penis this morning because I don't know why.
Possibly you did. This is a very odd place to make that confession.
It's very possible. I mean, obviously.
Okay. How old are you with that crazy laugh?
I am 32.
You do not sound 32. You sound closer to 42.
Oh. 42. I don't know what 42 sounds like.
42 sounds like you.
Oh.
I'm not being disparaging. I'm not being disparaging. I am not being any of that. I'm just saying, by the way, this sounds like a rough 32, ma'am. This sounds more like 42, 48. Sounds somewhere around there. It doesn't sound.
And you
it doesn't
like
sound
you're on
youthful.
It
doesn't sound youthful. It doesn't sound feminine. It doesn't sound like life has been easy or smooth. There's nothing feminine going on here. It sounds like somebody who's used to, I don't know, working for the Department of Sanitation. But what it doesn't sound is young, vibrant, youthful, smooth, feminine. It doesn't sound like life has been easy. It sounds like life has been been a struggle.
Exactly.
So no
Yeah,
wonder,
it has.
no
Thank
wonder you would be under the silly delusion that a woman's income matters, because yeah, you got to struggle
Of course,
when you have to
right? Because
when
I've
you
been
have to
taking care of
struggle.
myself, all like pretty much since I was a right. So a woman's
You take
income
care of
really matters to
yourself.
me.
You live in rural Georgia. How well are you taking care of yourself?
Except you said I was a liar.
Okay,
Remember?
ma'am, you claim you live in rural Georgia. How, quote, well are you taking care of yourself?
I'm living great. I don't know I'm blessed. I don't know what you're talking about.
How many children do you have?
Sir, is this about my personal life?
No, ma'am. You said you're living, ma'am. You said you're living. You said you're living great, ma'am. Ma'am, you said you're living great. How many children do you have living great, ma'am? That was a simple question. How many children do you have? Ma'am, don't get in your feelings. Don't get in your feelings now. Ma'am, don't get in your feelings now. You're getting triggered. Don't get off in your feelings. Ma'am, how many children do you have in rural Georgia?
I have 4 children.
And how many husbands?
0.
I can hear one of them squealing behind you. You're very triggered, very wild. You're very wild and very triggered and very, ma'am, you're very wild and very triggered, ma'am. And that's not a good look for you when you're 40-something years old with 3-4 kids. I can understand why. You're very wild and very triggered.
Fine without a husband.
Ma'am,
So,
you don't sound it. You don't even sound like
to
it.
Figure out how success is defined by whether or not I have a husband.
Ma'am, you sound like a single mom from rural Georgia struggling with 4 kids. That's how you sound.
Oh my God, I sound like what I am. Oh my God. What?
Yes, and that is exactly the issue.
Single mom in Georgia with 4 kids.
A struggling single mom with a gang of kids.
Yes, I do struggle.
And pipe dreams that she's going to be she's going to be a CEO of something.
Coming to me too. So yeah.
Ma'am,
don't worry
here's
about
the issue.
They don't
here's the issue, ma'am. When you're size 18,
what is that, sir?
When you're size 18 with 4 kids, that's the kind of thing that happens to you. You're size 14 with a cracked psyche. But that's an issue. You have to talk crazy like this because the real world crushed you. She's 40-something years old she's a 40-something year old size 18 with 4 kids living in rural Georgia. And I want you all to understand, she had to step down years ago. These dudes laid on top of her and it's been a wrap ever since. Now she's sitting on the internet fantasizing that she's going to become a CEO. Ma'am, the only CEO you're going to become of is distributing Similac. That's going to be the only thing you're going to be a CEO of. But there's a lot of them out there. They got a bunch of bastard kids, plants, pets. They're sitting up here with a whole bunch of problems. They're welded in front of their cell phones. They get together in Facebook groups where now you've got 2 generations of other cracked psyches to sit in a circle with. But you know what you don't have? You don't have a life that anybody would want to emulate. No one would want to inherit what you are. This damn fantasy that you're sitting up here regurgitating, nobody wants to live that. There is nobody wanting to come struggle in your log cabin out in the middle of rural Georgia while you're sitting up here talking this foolishness. There are no females who are impressed by another female's income. You would be impressed by no longer having to financially struggle. You probably would lay up with another chick. But that's not where most people want to be at. That's the problem. They don't want your life. All you want is the money, but nobody respects you for it. Nobody reveres you for it. Even if you ever could get there, which you never will. But even if you could ever get there, it's not like once you got there, oh, all these folks who've been bypassing me and overlooking me, why they sure does wish they could be here. Take a look at Lizzo. Take a look at Lizzo. many men out there, how many people out there like, damn, I wish I could be Lizzo. If I could just make the money that Lizzo got, boy, I'd be living, that they would be loving me. Show me where that's happening. It doesn't occur. Because it can't occur. This is a reality check, and reality can be absolutely brutal. But it's the truth. Go ahead and see if you can find yourself a groundskeeper there at the national park to help you clean things up for you, ma'am. There are a lot of lessons I want you all to learn, but that was the definition of foolishness. A female is not impressed by the income of another female. The reason that they're not impressed by other females' income is because females do not share their resources. Females look for places to accumulate resources, but they do not share their resources. That's the reason why women's money doesn't impress each other. Women don't share their money with men, and they don't share their money with other women either. They don't do that. So when she sits here and tries to tell the world that somehow we are impressed by the money of a woman, or that other women sit around admiring another woman because of her money and her income, that's a damn lie. They don't admire that at all. Because there's nothing to admire. Because you can only admire something that benefits you, even if it's tangentially. Also, by the way, if you ended up with 4 kids and no man, guess what? Game over. You got 4 kids and not a single man who is looking to sacrifice anything on your behalf. The game is already over. Reality is coming into view, but the game is already over. At this point right now, you're supposed to have your producer, you're supposed to have that locked down, and you're supposed to be setting off into the sunset. She's in her 40s, pretending to be in her 30s, and all it is right now is just a whole bunch of problems. It's just a whole bunch of problems now. Let me go ahead here. Let me check on Zoom while I'm at it here. All right, Sperling, I got you up here on Zoom. What's on your mind?
Hey, brother, how you doing, man? What's on my mind is it's the ego of these women that are that age, thinking that they can do better. Like, how do you think you can do better after Jeff Bezos? And correct me if I'm wrong. Hasn't she already divorced the scientist?
Yeah, she's filed for divorce, sir. Yes, and we covered.
Yeah, so like that's not even working. Like, you're gonna go only down from there. Like, I don't understand. Like, I had this girl last night I was talking to, and I told her ideally a woman should get with a man, in her early 20s. She should be having her kids by 40s. She should be settling down, waiting for the kids to be able to go into high school and move off into college. She's with her man and should be coasting the next 20 years out, just enjoying the wealth, because by then he should be about, at least 55, 60. They should have a nice little cushion and enjoy the rest of their years together. And she literally was like, well, I don't know. I think, it should be like this, or I feel it should be like this. I'm like, this is what's wrong with y'all. Y'all think y'all better than what you are. And you have a finite amount of time. You need to secure the bag and go sit your butt down. Instead of thinking you fine and fly out here with your old dusty, crusty coochie, trying to dust pouch around. Somebody wants it. I just think it's crazy, man.
Well, like I say, I've always warned what the dangers are of playing the field too long. And one of the biggest dangers of playing the field too long is that when you've run out of leverage, then you kind of lose track of that as well. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Let me go ahead and see if I can get another one in here while I'm at it. Tim, go ahead and unmute yourself. Go ahead and bring your video up for us here, Tim. Some of these folks are out on the road here or something here. We're going to give Tim a minute here to go ahead and bring his stuff up for you here. Tim, go ahead and bring your video and everything up. Either that or, I don't know, maybe he's using Tina's struggle stream. Who knows? But certainly, there's a lesson I want you all to take away from that, which is when you have to take a step down, it becomes a real issue. It becomes a real issue. And a lot of folks are going to try to sit up here and can encourage you and convince you that, well, hey, under the right circumstances, this can make sense for you. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. When you get this far in the game and you're this far into the fourth quarter, you're supposed to be sitting up here saying, okay, what's the exit strategy here? The exit strategy is not supposed to be figuring out how in the world to march your happy ass back out into the sexual marketplace, because it doesn't matter who you are now. It's a wasteland. I know the reason why we put this in context of celebrities or people that you know is about the point we've been trying to make to you here is it doesn't matter who in the world you can name. It doesn't matter what level of status that you think that they have. These individuals are not faring any better than the general public because it cannot be. The rules are the same for everyone. Nia Long, Vivica Fox, Nicole Young, Nicole Murphy. Where you going? Where exactly do you think you're going? With your knapsack over your shoulder and your avarice and your arrogance brimming off your chin. Where did you think you were going? Well, don't worry. There'll be another Jeff Bezos. No, I just want somebody who treats me nice. Congratulations, you got the damn science teacher. Enjoy. Now you've got as much niceness as you can stand. You just don't have any competence, entrepreneurship, being intrepid, leadership, status. You just don't have that anymore. And all the folks who tried to convince you that you don't need that, where are those people at now to make you feel better about this jam that you're in? She misses the look. She misses the life. In the chat room, Lala Anthony, we can go down the damn list. Lala Anthony, Megan Good, name whoever in the hell you want to. It isn't like coming back out here resulted in some windfall of options. There aren't any. Get it through your head. It's not there. Let me get caller from area code 470. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason. It's Michael from Atlanta.
All right, Michael from Atlanta, what's on your mind?
I was going to ask a question kind of pertaining to this topic. I know somebody personally, like a lady. Well, I don't know her personally, but she's like in her 70s, like 77, 78. And her house is paid off, right? But she's like really broke. And I was searching around like on the internet trying to find out, how can you have a house like that's paid off, but you're still like struggling to, make payments on it and all that. She's renting out rooms to other people too as well. And I know you said something about a wealth killer, like, how women with mortgages are gonna like be paying it off forever. So I was wondering, like, how can somebody with a house that's paid off, like, they're struggling just as much as somebody with a mortgage? I didn't really understand that.
Okay. The reason why an individual who can have a quote unquote a house that is paid off will find themselves struggling as much as somebody else is because what you're not doing is you're not counting, number one, the payment price. If I've covered this before on my program, The Wealth Killer. So for those of you who want to go back to the archive here, go look at the program, The Wealth Killer. I covered that in depth. But first and foremost, let's just say, for example, her house's purchase price was $200,000. Well, depending on the interest rate, the price could have been $400,000 by the time she got done paying for it. Now, when you take into account that you only have a certain amount of money that you make over the course of your working life, whatever the cost of that house is comes out of that, because that's covering 30 years. So that's going to come out of your lifetime earnings, not your yearly earnings, your lifetime earnings. So for example, let's just say that you make $1.5 million over the course of your entire working life. That's a $400,000 house. That house took up almost a third of your lifetime earnings. You add in property taxes, HOA fees, maintenance, repairs, insurance. We're well over $500,000, depending on if you're in that Atlanta area. You're well over that. So that's out of your lifetime earnings. If you're projecting forward 30 years, that's out of your lifetime earnings. It just seems manageable in these bite sizes, but that mess adds up. Now, if you add a car to that equation, even if you add a car to the equation only once every 10 years, yikes. If the person has children, oh hell, it used to be $250,000, now it's over 300,000. But did she have any children?
Yeah, she has a 16-year-old.
Okay, there's $250,000 right there. So the house was $400,000 or so. The kids another $250,000. You're going up with insurance and everything else. We're well over $700,000-800,000 now of her lifetime earnings, and that's assuming that she made $1.5 million. She's already over 50% in just a house and kids. Just those two things alone, by themselves. And you say she got a 16-year-old, so they're not even grown yet.
Yeah, it's just crazy because she was like 77, and I was like, wow, you're struggling like even worse now at 77 than somebody who's younger than you who's paying off a mortgage. So, yeah, that was interesting.
Well, those are the kind of things that you have to take into account. Those are the kind of things that you have to take into account because, as I told you all, real estate agents will sit up here and walk you off into a disaster. A lot of folks think, for some crazy reason, people think that realtors are more honorable people than car salesmen. That's always shocked me and surprised me that an idiot out here would think that a realtor was a more honorable, trustworthy individual than a car salesman. These realtors and real estate agents walk people off into mortgages and foreclosures every damn day. Every day.
She's a real estate agent.
Okay, well, there's no accounting for intelligence there, I guess. Now, how old did you say she was again?
She was 77. She has like grandchildren and all that.
Okay, because you were confusing people what you were saying before. So you say she's taking care of her 16-year-old grandson?
Yeah, her family's kind of crazy. She's taking care of her.
There you go. Team reflects leadership. Team reflects leadership. And what she's showing is what you have is a situation where people who are not very good leaders, this is what they end up doing. This is what they end up doing. You can get pregnant, but are you ready for it? You can get pregnant, but are you ready for it? Are you ready for this house? Or are you dealing with your childhood traumas and not dealing very well with them? Anybody can sit here and walk you off into that. And here's the other thing. You said a lot of things. You didn't say anything about a man.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. She always, I just know her personally from dealing with her and other people. She always brings up her house. I think, like you said, that's like veto over like a man. She said, "Oh, it's my house. It's my house. It's my house." She always been she's like real proud of that. I'm like, I guess that's what Jason was talking about. She used that to kind of defy a man. I don't have to listen to you, and so you're on point with that because I thought that was interesting.
Well, just remember something here. When you are dealing with an immature personality voices childish statements like, "I don't want nobody telling me what to do." That's a childish intellect talking. And that never ends well. Adulthood is not about folk not telling you what to do. Adulthood is about becoming the most resourceful, useful person that you can be, avoiding silly, stupid mistakes, having a life that gets easier as you go on, not more difficult. And if you have to take care of your grandkids because the children that you raised were so damn wayward, That is your proof positive what a failure you've been as a person. And now you've got just enough power to be dangerous. Dangerous to yourself. There's the real issue. She was given just enough power to destroy herself. She's not supposed to be in her damn 70s taking care of grandkids and there's no man. That is a loss. Ladies, the final report card on your life is a L, not a F, but a L. If you've gotten to this point where she is in life and you have no man as your backup, you already know it. Here's the other thing, it's just been a life of struggle. What does she do for a living now? She's still a realtor?
She says that, but I think she's just living off her tenants, because
okay. Well,
I think that's what's going on.
Well, I mean, that could be the situation here. Not really sure, but the real thing is it certainly sounds like she still has to work. She's still got to work and she's still got to keep after it. And there's nobody who has her back. She's taking care of grandkids. So when you become a failure, you sit up here and act like your failures are all just okay in the cost of doing business. That's not good. But women who are young disciplinary problems become old, cracked, broken females. And that's what she is now. She can go to church and she can hang out at the bingo hall. But here's the real issue. There's nobody who wants to trade places with her. Nobody wants to trade places with her. Maybe some of them illegal aliens written from her. But nobody wants to trade places with her. And that's a devastating final report card on your value as a person, your worth, your self-worth. That's a devastating report card to have. 70-something years old having to take care of your wayward grandchildren. Because this is what your bloodline is worth. As a woman, you see, when you have a man there to invoke discipline and structure and to be that guiding light for you there, you don't have a bloodline that just starts becoming a cesspool like that. When you have a competent man in a leadership position, this doesn't happen. Now all she's got is a bunch of whacked out kids, whacked out grandkids, pets, debts. And
always with pets too is another thing.
Well, let me find out here.
I was also going to ask.
Well, one other thing here. How old are you now?
You said, how old am I?
Yes, sir.
I'm 27. Yeah.
Now, how you end up talking to some damn near octogenarian?
And I'm not talking to her. It's just I know of her personally.
How did you end up meeting an octogenarian personally?
I had a friend. She rented out a room. She rented out rooms to him, and I will, we would chill, and I would see her, come in and out. And he told me her situation and all that. And I was just watching your Wealth Killer podcast, and her house is paid off, so I was just interested. And she's not related to me at all, but I do got people in my family like her, though. Women who just, they just destroy their families. I was also going to ask, where do you when you get this information on? Because it's really accurate. Is it just from personal experience or like? It's
called First of all, it's all the above. Most people already have access to this kind of thing. There's the crazy part about it. Most of you should have a CPA, but you don't. If you actually have a CPA, then they get taught to run over these numbers. As black folk out here as a group, the problem with the single mother epidemic is you have the most incompetent individuals who are supposed to be in charge of making all the important decisions, including the mathematical ones. You call it financial, but it's really mathematics. So you have the most incompetent individuals in charge of making the most pertinent, prescient, critical, crucial decisions. Let me give you all an example. If you go back and watch my program, Wealth Killer, I have to remind you all that you are now entering the era of the 10-year car note and the 40-year mortgage. Let me say that again. You are now entering the era of the 10-year car note and the 40-year mortgage. Now, those are words that I just used. What I just said to you were words. Where it becomes devastating on your life is when I translate those words into numbers. Because you see, words can be negotiated. Numbers cannot be. Words are open to interpretation. Numbers are not. And that is why when people talk about buying houses, I had to sit here and explain to you all, by the way, if you take a look at your monthly note, that's 360 months. So you need to multiply whatever your monthly mortgage is by 360. And that tells you the true price of what you just signed as a mortgage, not the house's purchase price, but the entire transaction cost. Once you do that, then you realize, oh hell, she's just a 28-year-old chick with a bunch of debt. That's all she is. Now you go and throw a car on top of it, because let's be very honest about this for a moment here. Ladies, can we be very honest about women's spending patterns? When a woman starts digging herself into a hole financially, she doesn't stop digging. She just says, oh well, screw it, in for a penny, in for a pound. So you see, if her bank account goes from $20,000 to $10,000, she doesn't say, oh, hell, I better stop spending. She says, oh, well, I'm not at $20,000 anymore. Might as well go ahead and spend the rest of it. They don't stop. They just keep going. Because spending money makes them feel better. Everybody knows about the dopamine hit. Shopping makes women feel better. And when she sits up here and says, well, you have to understand how I feel, she's sitting there talking to herself about understanding how she feels. Problem, the bank, math, and the rent don't care about how you feel. And if you don't have a man there to stop these self-destructive tendencies, away we go. So all I did was sit down and tell you all, by the way, if you multiply this out over your lifetime earnings, because you still plan on being alive in 10 years, right? Okay, fine. If you do, then let's take a look at that car note and how much it's really going to hit you for. Average transaction price for a car right now is $46,000. That used to be a fully decked out Mustang. Not anymore. That's the average transaction price for a car today. $46,000. That's not a fancy car. Now, when you take that into account and then you throw that on top of a mortgage and then you throw that on top of a couple of kids, you just obliterated your lifetime earnings. I'm talking about as far as you can project out for decades. You just obliterated it. That money is already spoken for. That's the problem. It's no longer discretionary income. It's now obligated income. Because you've already obligated it to some other expense, to some other requirement. And the only way you can get around this now is if you work more hours. Because the cost of food, gas, housing, and everything else is not, your income isn't going to keep pace with that. So when you start looking at this, if you have an attorney or a CPA, people who do this for a living, you deal with these kind of numbers all the time. If you have a competent man leading the house, you deal with these kind of numbers all the time. But if you're out here just trying to wing it by yourself because your mama was a disciplinary problem that nobody could deal with, your grandmama was a disciplinary problem that nobody could deal with, now you're a grown woman, but you're a disciplinary problem that no man will deal with, you're just out here spending money. You are not strategically setting up finances. So you'll sit up here and say something stupid like, I bought a house. When in reality, in some markets, it makes absolutely no sense to buy a house. Case in point, San Francisco, it makes absolutely no sense to buy a house in San Francisco. They're too damn expensive. Of your lifetime earnings, a house in San Francisco could run you $1.5 million, $2 million. That's too damn much. That's too damn much. But if you are whacked out, emotionally imbalanced, dealing with childhood issues, your mama was screwed up and she wasn't any better than you, then you'll sit up there and look at that transaction and your dumb ass will go off and go buy it. Meanwhile, the men around you will be like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And you'll be sitting up here skipping around talking about, yeah, I made it, I sure did. Ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. Meanwhile, the mortgage company, the homeowners association, the tax assessor's office, every damn body around you is telling you what to do. Everybody. Everybody. So how do I know this, brother? This is not alchemy. This is adulthood. If you sit down and start working out finances and a budget, but you know what? You cannot work out finances and a budget if you don't have a goal. Folk ask me all the time, Jason, how can I get my money together and this, that, and the other? The first thing I ask them is, what is your goal? And the first thing they always say is the same thing. Well, I want some money. That's why you'll never make it. That's the reason right there that you will never make it. You will never make it because you cannot tell me where we're going. That's the problem. And if you can't tell me where we're going, then there's no way in the hell we'll ever get there. When I ask you about your finances, you need to be able to tell me specifically, exactly where you want to go. I need to know down to the dollar. What do you want? And then I'll tell you whether or not, doubling may not be enough. That's the problem. Even the number that you have in your head right now that compared to your parents, which is usually what you all are making these comparisons to. Now, if there is something that I'm a novel person about, is that I get you all to start asking questions like, by the way, are you taking a look at the market where you live? Or are you taking a look at your parents and comparing yourself to your childhood when you grew up? That your parents didn't have enough and you are still trying to add up your future by looking in the rearview mirror. Because it might not be enough. Take a look at how much it costs to buy your parents' house, and then take a look at how much it would cost you to buy one in Atlanta. And then you ask yourself how much money you really need. But the other thing is, how do you wish to live? That's more important. You see, one of the things I've had to learn, of course, as you all know, and this comes up every once in a while, you have a female who calls in and she doesn't want to have to sit up here and deal with reality, especially when a man starts saying it. So I just sit up here and ask them, by the way, what kind of car do you drive now? Chrysler Sebring. Great. Do you want to be driving that in 7 years? Oh, no. What would you like to be driving in 7 years? Gotcha. Now that we've gone ahead and sidestepped and danced around that little obstacle tactic that they use. By the way, what kind of car do you want to be driving? Ooh, I want to be driving a Tesla. I want to be driving a Mercedes S-Class. Oh, okay. Well, you're going to have to drop $60,000 to $90,000 depending on what you're looking at there. See, there's a reason why you're pushing that Sebring. There's a reason why you're pushing that Honda Accord. There's a reason why you're pushing that Nissan Altima. There's a reason that you're doing that. Now, that's okay. If you want one of these other vehicles, that's perfectly fine. Does your lifestyle and earnings reflect that? How many kids you got? 2. Okay. How many husbands you got? 0. Okay. You can't get there from here. You can try it, but all you're going to be is just another ditzy, dumb young chick with a bunch of damn debt. That's all you're going to be. And what do you have out here right now? A bunch of young and middle-aged and past middle-aged chicks with a bunch of debt. Just racking up a bunch of debt. And there was no forward thinking or planning whatsoever. You have to understand something. My CPA talks to me about the next year and the next 5 years. Now, I do have a 10-year, but the 10-year is a little more flexible. But he's like, hey, if you want my best work, we need to make a 1 year and a 5 year. And you need to tell me specifically and exactly what your projections are, what it's gonna be. Because there's another thing right there is that after I tell him, I got 2 of them, but my main one, after I tell him what I want, I'm kind of held to that because he checks back in and he's like, okay, we need to holler about that. Are you using what I gave you here? Are we doing distribution of monies? What are we doing? And you see, once I've told him what the plan is, if I say something dumbass like, oh, let me go ahead and buy a condo, he's going to want to know, wait, hold on, dude. We made a 1 year and a 5 year plan. Where the hell does a condo come to this? Oh, well, you see, I met this cute young thing out there, in Miami when I was rolling around out there, well, that's a mama right there, but I mean, I met this cute young thing out there in Miami, and he's okay. He's going to be like, all right, that cute young thing is going to bankrupt you. That wasn't the plan. That wasn't what we talked about. But you know who else that sounds like? That sounds like a competent ass father. If you have a father in the home who maps out the family's finances for decades, he doesn't need an advanced degree to be able to do that. Some of our friends who like to go ice skating or divorce you over ice skating, they're emotionally offended because I don't want nobody telling me what to do. Well, okay, now nobody can tell you what to do. But you also don't have freedom anymore either. We don't plan to fail, we just fail to plan. So as a grown man, this is supposed to all be part and parcel of that. I buy vehicles. I go places and things, but I always take into account, number one, do I need to do this? Because I'm always keeping my eye on what the plan is, what the next plan is, where I'm going. If I want to be like everybody else, there's a real easy way to get there. Just do like everybody else. If I want to go someplace different, I got to act differently. That's where discipline comes in. You all don't think there's times that I want to sit up here and blow a bag? You think there's times I don't want to do that? You think there's times I don't go places and it's like, you know what? I could buy that over there. There's plenty of times that happens. That's where discipline comes in. And if you don't have that discipline, you don't have a family that has that, you're going to be in a world of hurt. You better figure out how to get it for yourself. So where does it come from, brother? Yeah, it comes from experience, but not just my own. It's not just from my experience. Yeah, I've gone broke a few times. I've gone broke a few times. I learned from that. But as far as what's going forward, I'm learning from other people's experiences. I talk to my CPAs about other folk and decisions that they shouldn't have made. I ask questions. But the other thing is I have a plan. And the plan over time, every time we hit that 5-year mark, we reevaluate the 10-year. And that's what you do. And then that becomes your life, not impressing strangers. I got goals, and once I see I hit those goals, that's what I gauge myself by. But you have to actually have that. Now, for most of you, I'm going to be brutally honest with you here, and Kevin Samuels talked about this. He got it from me because it's the truth. Most of you need to really be looking at somewhere around $3 to $5 million. Kevin said 2. He was outdated because he was quoting stuff I had said years before. In light of the inflationary crisis and whatever, you all really need to be looking at about $3 million. If you are not, if you're not looking in that direction, if you're not planning and plotting on that trajectory, you're probably going to find yourself with a tremendous shortfall. You're 20-something years old. By the time you get to 50, all of the underestimating that you did when you were in your 20s is going to catch up with you in your 50s. That's why that woman is in the situation she's at now. She grossly underestimated how much she was going to need. She's got some rental properties because she's too rickety and old. But let's just be very, very clear. She's only one major repair away from that no longer mattering. You all have to make these decisions in your 20s, and you have to be steadfast and stand by it. You have to work out the math on these things. Let me go ahead and give you all a very brief reminder about this. Now, I don't want to talk too long because I got folk on the line. Let me go ahead and give you all a very brief reminder about these kind of things right there. I discussed with you all section 179, and that really gets too much play, to be totally honest with you, because there's other things for you to consider as well. But case in point, when I finance a vehicle, for example, I have the ability to pay for it cash. I don't ever do that. I finance everything. I don't ever pay cash for a vehicle. Why not? Because you lose the opportunity cost. Case in point, let me give you an example. Let's just go ahead and say, for example, and I'm giving this to you for an example. Let's just say, for example, you go off and you want to go buy a, $70,000 Tahoe or whatever. Okay, you put $35,000 down, you finance the other $35,000. Great. Now, you do have the ability to pay the whole $70,000 cash. Why in the world would you finance it? Because you would lose the opportunity cost otherwise. Jason, what do you mean by that? By keeping that $35,000 in my bank account, let's just say, for example, I can get a interest rate of 2.5% to 3% from Chase Bank. An interest rate of 2.5% to 3% at Chase Bank over the life of that loan, you're looking at about $2,200 over the life of that loan. That's how much in interest I would end up paying. Let's go ahead and be super big about it and just say $3,000. Let's just say over the life of that loan, 5 years, $35,000 loan, let's just say they would charge me $3,000. Now, here's a question for you. Is there some other place that I could take that $35,000 that's in my bank account and invest it and get, over the course of 5 years, get more than $3,000 rate of return? Think about that for a few moments. Is there some other place, if I only use I got 70,000 in the bank, but if I only use 35,000 and borrow the other 35,000, I keep that $35,000 that I got in my bank account. Is there some other place that I could take that $35,000 and get more than $3,000? If the answer is yes, I'd be a fool to give my $35,000 to the dealership. It's a whole lot smarter to go borrow that money from Chase Bank instead. If I know a place where I can invest it and get more than that, if I can give somebody $35,000 and get more than $3,000 back, in reality, I'd be a fool. Now that's called math. That's called math. And I got what? If I take out a 5-year note, I got 5 years to do that. But then again, do you think like an employee or do you think like a worker? Or do you think like an employee or an employer? Do you think like an entrepreneur or do you think like a worker? Now, if you think like a worker, you're going to still be, ooh, I'm worried about this, that, and the other. And you don't know you've never even thought, by the way, if I have $35,000 in the bank, I need to invest that somewhere. I know for those of you who don't join us on Patreon, by the way, I go into this kind of thing in detail on Patreon all the time. For those of you who are not, that's why you see folks in here talking about the dark arts and the cauldron. By the way, this is the kind of thing that most of your parents never even discuss this with you because it sounds so daunting. I broke it down to you at a very basic level. Now, the only trick to it, of course, is, well, you have to find a place where you can put $35,000. But then again, you have 5 years for it to give you a superior rate of return. You'd be an idiot to give the whole $70,000 to the dealership. You'd be a fool to do that because you just lost the opportunity cost. You just lost it. Now, if you have a CPA, he's going to immediately give you the example I just gave you. If you're an entrepreneur or a business owner and you've dealt with buying vehicles and whatnot like I have, you immediately recognize that as well because we always understand the peril of being cash poor. How much money we have in the bank that we can put our hands on is always critical and crucial. Yes, you want to have credit. Having credit is a very good thing to have. I have plenty of it. But I also want to make sure that I have cash reserves of my own. You see, if I'm going to go risk something in the market, I want to go risk somebody else's money, not mine. I can always navigate paying somebody else back. If I allow them to go into my cash reserves, can I replenish that as quickly as I can negotiate their credit? So first and foremost, you always try to protect your cash reserves as much as you can. That doesn't mean you don't spend it, but that means we have to be very judicious and strategic about how we spend it. And when you've got a man in the home who's dealt with other men, he's not going to let somebody walk you off into a bad car loan, a bad mortgage loan, because you're off doing some emotional ass spending because of your unresolved daddy issues. A competent man isn't going to do that. Now, let me go ahead and strap y'all with some more game. And for those of you who are going to join us on Patreon tomorrow, we'll get more into this. Case in point, let me go ahead and tell you about a couple of vehicles you should keep in mind. There are folks who sit up here and tell you that a vehicle is a depreciating asset. Most of these people don't know what the hell they're talking about. Most of them don't know what the hell they're talking about. That was why, for example, when you hear folks talking about G-Wagons, you hear them talking about Maybachs, in most of their cases, they hold their value. In some cases, they're actually appreciating in value. Case in point, that was why when I was talking to Isaiah, he and I were talking about that, about how the G-Wagon is outrageously good at holding its value. Back with the example that he and I were given from earlier this year, when Mercedes said they were going to discontinue the G-Wagon and then didn't, there were folks who were selling 2019s for $180,000. Now, they originally bought theirs for $110,000. They were getting ready to try to sell theirs for $180,000. And yet you will hear some jackasses out there try to tell you that the car is not an appreciating asset. No, sir. Your 1987 Mercury Sable is not an appreciating asset. You're absolutely correct. It's not. It isn't. In the chat room, you say normal cars. Well, I guess it depends on where your life is sitting at. I'm trying to get all of y'all to a place where the type of vehicles I'm talking about, those are normal cars for you. So I'm trying to get you there. I want that to become the norm. I don't want any of you sitting with a bunch of damn depreciating assets. But there are a lot of folk who never explain to you the simple fact of the matter of what is good debt and what is bad debt. So you think all cars are equal. They're not. All clothes are not equal. They're not. All houses are not equal. They're not. There are a number of things that can be appreciating assets that you haven't thought of in that way. But if you haven't been taught how to turn what you assume or think is a liability into an asset, then it doesn't dawn on you. And when you're around a bunch of other people who just simply work and they go spend the money that they have and then go back to work and go try to earn more, that's a problem. Nobody ever invests anything. There is no forward thinking. You know why? Because there is no plan. Granny Goodwill, you've been talking to me about all this time. By the way, what kind of car does she drive?
Me? So I was just soaking it up. A Kia? No, she had a rental now, I think, but she has a Kia.
She has a Kia.
That's the car that I saw, and it's a Kia. I don't really care, but
well,
that's a car, yeah.
Okay, but here's the real issue about it. It's 70-something years old. Shouldn't she have something a little more comfortable at this point? Think about that for a few moments. I don't think that's a mark of excellence to spend your whole damn life and be sacrificing the whole time. I'm not one of those people. I am not one of those people. I've been there. I've done that. I think there's a place to be made for earning it so you can appreciate it. But yeah, you need to learn what that is. And if most of these folk have not told you about that, I want you to understand what it is. So when you have a plan, then all these other things become part of your plan. Let me go ahead and tell you something right now. $1 million is not a lot of money, folks. Some of you need to update your lexicons. $1 million is not a lot of money. It's not. And I want to circle this back around to what we've been talking about here the whole time. A woman is not going to outcompete a man. That LaQuisha, the Bushika who called in earlier, let's be very, very clear about something right now. I'm not being disrespectful. The problem is a lot of folks out here and a lot of these women, ladies, can we just be honest? They become experts at running their damn mouths about some crap they ain't never gonna do. Let me say that again. Right now, we have a bunch of delusional, fantasizing females who are very, very good at running their mouths about a bunch of stuff they ain't never gonna do. You ain't never going to be a CEO. You're never going to make six figures. You don't have the temperament for it. You don't have the intelligence for it. You don't have the expertise for it. You don't have the discipline for it. You ain't going to make it, Johnny. You can sit here and fantasize all you want to. You ain't going. You're not going. All you're going to do is sit your ass on my phone talking about what you fantasize about on a Facebook group. But guess what? You're not going. And you are incapable of aligning yourself or allying yourself or teaming up yourself with somebody who can get you there. So all you're really going to do is sit up here and fantasize. That's all you're going to do. Sitting on my damn phone talking about your log cabin in rural Georgia, but you're not going. So you see, the difference is, as a man, we are ultra competitive. At least we're supposed to be, unless you're raised by a single mom who beats it out of you. So as a man, we see this luxury car differently than she does. We see that Ferrari differently than she does. She is never gonna work herself enough to get that. It ain't gonna happen. You know why? Because women's frame of reference is different than men's. Oh hell, okay, the cauldron is I ain't gonna fire it up, but I'm warning you all, the cauldron is bubbling. Can we be honest for a moment here? A woman's frame of reference of expensive is a handbag. A man's frame of reference of expensive is cars and houses. And I'm talking about as literal objects, not speculative. Literal objects. Women can wrap their heads around the cost of a quote, an expensive pair of shoes or an expensive purse. Soon as you start talking about cars, they don't even know what the model is. Men, on the other hand, do. Every man listening to me right now knows the damn difference between a GMC Sierra and a Sierra Denali Ultimate. Every man here knows the difference between a BMW X2 and a BMW X7 Alpina. Every man listening to me knows the difference between a GLS, GLE, GLA, GLC, GLE, GLS Maybach. Every man listening to me does, because we focus on cars early, so we know the difference between stripped and equipped. We don't look for the damn makeup mirror. We want to know how many horses, how much horsepower, the infotainment system, how many speakers the speaker system got. And yes, I couldn't help but notice, that new Denali Ultimate Edition. The ultimate trim level now they got, $100,000, 18 speakers. Might have to go trade something in. 18 speakers. I know the Cadillac Escalade got 36, but I like the Bose system better. I like the Bose system better than the AKG. Bose is always very good about bass. So if you're going to buy a factory equipped system, Bose, in my opinion, is the best place to get it from. They always do excellent with their bass. In any case, as men, we know this. As women, they don't. This is how you can have Kendra G. I ain't beating up on you, Kendra. But this is how you can have Kendra G in front of a 10-year-old Bentley, styling and profiling with thousands of other females clapping their hands. And if you brought her that same 10-year-old Bentley, all of them would all of a sudden want to take a look at the sticker and see what the age of it is. What they are telling you, brother, is a value judgment. A woman is like, I'll be damned if you're going to work me into a coronary to pay $300,000 for a Bentley Continental. Bring me that 10-year-old damn thing over here. Because the women understand that's a lot of damn work. It's a lot of work for them to get their damn Gucci bag. She's not going to sit up here and let you drop some $180,000 used car on her. She's not going to do that. She is immediately reflexively going to be like, okay, that's too much. Women are never going to work as hard as men to get the same thing. They're not going to do it. First thing she's going to say is, where's a man to drop this off for me? So I can go spend my money on handbags and shoes. But where's a man to do this for me? So when she is subjected to a step down, when she goes from going places and the ease of entry is smooth, she walks in, and if she wants the shoes, she can get it. She wants the purse, she can get it. And then you sit up here and you drop some sad sack on top of her. She gonna try to hold a stiff upper lip for a little bit, because she's prideful and she gotta stand by that dumbass decision she made. But let's be very, very clear. Every man listening to me right now knows full damn well, if you've been there, you know full damn well, if you were the female who was with a guy who was doing substantially better than you are, every time she looks at you, you can see out the corner of her eyes, she's basically, every time she talks about or picks up a handbag or shows something, she's letting you know, by the way, you know you're going to have to outdo this, right? You know you're going to have to outdo this. No ifs, ands, or buts. You're going to have to outdo this. The only reason I'm with you was because I wanted him to think I wasn't sweating this situation. But let me be very, very clear. I can't take no loss. I can't take a loss. I can't take a L. That's the reason that McKenzie Bezos gave that science teacher a year to become a billionaire. Can we just be honest? That's what it was. McKenzie Bezos was giving that fella a year to become a billionaire.
Wow.
Does it make
That's unrealistic.
Does it make sense to you all now? She was giving that dude a year to become a billionaire. She's like, I'll be damned if I'm going to buy all the houses and the shoes. Nigga, you got a year to prove that you belong in this bed next to me. And she was sitting there the whole damn time. You know what she's thinking in her head? I just divorced a man. He wasn't a science teacher. He didn't have an advanced degree like that. How the hell you a science teacher and you can't make it pop off? She's sitting there saying to herself, there's no way in the hell I can respect myself under these circumstances. Dude, you better get it together. He's sitting there talking about love, and she's like, what the hell love got to do with it? No, I'm not kidding you all. She gave him a year. It's like, hey, dude, you gonna have to 10x that income. Because you and I are a mismatch. And you know what the hell he was probably sitting there saying? Well, you know, baby, I would never cheat on you. She's like, fool, you can't. Who you gonna cheat on me with? The cafeteria lady? What are you dreaming about is going to happen here? Who are you gonna cheat on me with? She's like, I'll be damned. If you got your weight up a little bit better, maybe you'd be able to cheat on me. In the chat room, you said he's 47 years old. And that's the best that she could do. The best she could do is sit up here and tell him, okay. But understand something. The clock has been running this entire time. The clock was running the whole time. Pete Davidson, I was trying to warn you. The clock was running the entire time. Let me go ahead and explain to you all what was happening with Kim and Pete Davidson and all my other copycats on YouTube. They get out your pens and your notepads. You're going to start writing down things furiously because you didn't understand the psyche. Kris Kardashian learned how to build the men around them into something that she could use and exponentially increase their value. She was with Robert Kardashian, who was her entree in the high society. And when she blew that, she got with Bruce Jenner. Now Caitlyn Jenner. But she built him into more valuable than he was. Then she did it with her daughters. But what they did was that they understood, okay, well, you know, if you got a fella, if he'll listen, we might be able to upgrade him. But let's be very clear. There's a short window of time that he has to do that. They cut their teeth with Kim, not the oldest daughter. They cut it with Kim. Okay, this is the cycle. This fella got 12 months to start producing. If he doesn't, you begin auditioning his replacement. Pete Davidson, when she got with you, the fact that your name got elevated to the level that it did once she got with you, she was saying, okay, the clock is running. The clock is running. And what do you all know? How long did she give Pete Davidson? About a year. Sound familiar? I'm not making this up as I go along. Sound familiar? Does it sound familiar? I'm not making this up as I go along. When I talked about having a goal and a plan and a timeline and an expectation and a projection, Welcome to the real damn world, folks who really got paper together. It really is like that. It's like, hey, I'm not going to carve you off no 5 or 10 years. You got to start producing where you are. I'll give you a few months to get it into gear, but the very fact that you sitting next to me means that you understand the meter is running, Pete. That's why Kanye was laughing the whole damn time. Let me go ahead and let y'all know something right now. I know y'all think Kanye is crazy as hell. He might be off his meds sometimes, but let's be very, very clear. Everybody else wanted to marry Kim. He was the one who was actually able to land that bird. You think he don't know what he had? You think he doesn't know? No, it was the media who didn't understand, or at least pretended that they didn't. Pete didn't know what the hell it was. Kanye's like, dude, that's my woman. That's my woman. Ray J couldn't bag it. What's his name? Nick Cannon, all the Reggie Bush, they couldn't land that bird. I did. Y'all don't really know what you're dealing with. You really don't. Yeah, you can laugh and joke all you want to and mock me all you want. You don't know this woman. I do. And what do you know? She's sitting up here telling folk, oh, by the way, me and Kanye, we still family. No matter how crazy things are sometimes, we're always gonna be family. You know why? Because Kim knows ain't no waiting on Kanye. Everything is on deck. With Pete, dude, you got 6 months to go from being an also ran on Saturday Night Live to being a headliner. He couldn't close the deal. He wasn't on any trajectory to do so. She's like, yeah, let me start tiptoeing back towards this door. And if Kanye has been without me long enough, let's see if he got some act right. And guess what? Kanye was making jokes the whole damn time. Did you get that? When he was making jokes about Skeet the whole damn time, remember? Kind of sounds like he knows something, doesn't it? Sounds like he knew something the whole time. Sounds like he wasn't as worried as you might have thought the whole damn time. What does that tell you? The only person who wasn't in on the joke was Pete Davidson. He was the only one who wasn't in on it. That's it. In the chat room, oh yeah, you say a lot of crackhead stuff. Calm down. It ain't about what you can touch. It's about what you can hold. It ain't about what you can touch. It's about what you can hold. It's not about what you can touch. It's about what you can grab and hold. If you can't hold it, it ain't yours. There's a whole bunch of fellas out here who don't understand that. Let me tell y'all right now, Pete's in a bad spot because what Kim did was she basically validated her ex-husband mocking him in front of the world. You can't let Kanye West say what he did in public like that, and then this woman sits up here and runs back to him talking about we still family? Do you understand that? You sat up here and, you done put the kids in your lap and done got etchings and tattoos and every damn thing else. And then she goes off and says, yeah, me and my ex-husband, we still family. Oh, Pete's such a nice guy. He's such a nice, yeah, he ain't nice enough to keep you from going back to your ex-husband. He's not nice enough to prevent that. So far, he isn't nice enough to be able to prevent that from occurring. Please, he's gotten publicly friend zoned. She's talking about, oh, any woman would be lucky to have him. All these females out here, it would be great to have him. Hey, Kim, would you like to have him? Oh, no, I got other things to do. Really? He's such a great catch that you're leaving him on the curbside for pickup. You know why? Because you are a step down. And while a woman will tolerate that condition for a while, eventually she's going to look at the fella she with or the one she wishes she could be with, and she's going to elbow him in the ribs and be like, hey, about time for you to be stepping it up, ain't it? Remember what I taught you all, there's a number of unspoken assumptions. That is, men, if you don't understand that these are unspoken assumptions, she assumes that simply by her getting with you, her life is going to get better. Kanye gave her 4 my box. That's a high ass bar to clear. Let me ask you all a question. And I want a show of hands from only the women. Only the women right now, not the men. I want a show of hands in the chat room. Either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Ladies, how many of you have told a man that you got with who made less money, had less status, he was a step down from the man that you were with? How many of you looked him in the face and told him that you were okay with that, knowing full well that you were not? It was just that you couldn't get anything better. How many of you have done that? Give me a thumbs up if you have. Give me a thumbs down if you would never do such a thing and you never have. Let's go ahead and get some reality going here. How many of you have gotten with a fellow who made less money than the man you were with? You looked him in the face, told him you were okay with that, knowing full well that you were not. Well, you know, he cute and he nice and we can live on love. And if I give him a little bit of you know what you really think? If I give him a little bit of time, he'll get together. Trap queen, if you don't quit. Libra queen, if you don't stop lying. I don't usually call you out on my Friday program, but if you don't stop lying, I'm not even going to be discreet about this. If you don't quit. Kiana talking about it didn't last long. That's why she didn't put up any thumb emojis. It didn't last long. You know damn well you're not going to tolerate that. You know why? Because women have a short shelf life. You know full damn well you can't play that game for any length of time. You can't afford to play that game for any length of time. You know full well it's irking your soul and eating you alive if you got to take a damn downgrade. You know it is. You know that's tearing you apart if you got to do that. In the chat room, MJ, you know that's real. All of them done did it. Now that they don't have their exes here to stand up for themselves and tell the truth, they all gonna act like they never did it. Practically all, the only ones who didn't, that's because you couldn't get a fellow who was holding like that. But any of you who had a fellow who was holding like that, you know full damn well, as soon as you didn't have access to that anymore, you ended up with a fellow who was doing worse. And you sat there looking at him, well, you know, it's okay, baby. You nicer than him and we gonna live on love. You know what? You ain't with that fellow today. You're not with him now. You know why? Because that eats you the hell alive. That eats you alive. To the smart chicks, don't listen to none of these chicks up in here putting their thumbs down. You know damn well it ain't true. It's not true. A woman cannot stand to take a step down. You know why? Because y'all talk too much trash to each other. Your sisters, you know full damn well if you got sisters and they seen you with a good ass look, you know they sitting around. You know she ain't gonna be able to hold that nigga. You know they gonna break up, right? She ain't never gonna be able to keep him. You know that. Your sisters, your girlfriends, your co-workers, if you were ever with a fella who was worth a damn, you know full damn well your sister, every female you know, including your mama, is sitting there hoping for your downfall. You know that. They're all sitting there the whole damn time. You know you ain't gonna be able to keep him, right? Not you. Not you. Oh, ladies, am I reading your mail tonight? Am I reading your mail tonight? You know full well at the Thanksgiving dinner, the family picnic or whatever, if you got a fella who's about something, he sat up there and got you that Escalade Platinum, that BMW X7, while your sisters are sitting over there with their lips poked out trying to take care of Pookie and Ray Ray's little kids. You know full damn well, you like, yeah, I run this thing. And you know what's going on behind their eyeballs, wench. You know you ain't never going to be able to keep him. You know it ain't. You know it, don't you? You ain't never going to be able to hold him. You know full well they're sitting there counting down the minutes. Every year you show up with him, you know it's ripping their souls to shreds. The first time you show up without him, you know their first question, where's he at? Where's he at? Yeah, I thought you was rolling with Jason. Where's he at? Y'all doing okay? Where's he at? How many females here have broken up with a dude and didn't tell your damn family? Mic drop. Ladies, how many of you have broken up with a dude? You knew he had the bag, you broke up with him, and you never even told your folks. We're about to hit the midterm elections, and you ain't told them yet why they haven't seen him in a year. Boy, take a look at the laughing emojis going off in here. Ladies, you know how many of y'all done sat up here and did that? You broke up with him 6, 7, 8 months ago, a year ago. You ain't said nothing to nobody. You ain't told your folks. You ain't told your friends. You haven't told any. You treating that like a state secret. You're treating that like the nuclear launch codes. You ain't said nothing to nobody. Got a closet full of the clothes that nigga bought you? Am I saying too much? I'm doing too much now, ain't I? I'm doing too much. Okay. I'm reading too much mail. All right. I said too much. All right. Y'all know full well that's exactly the way it goes down. That's exactly the way it happens. If you with the right fella, you ain't gonna say, you are not going to tell your greedy, scandalous, backstabbing, spiteful sisters, your cousins. If you're a black female who lives in Atlanta or Chicago, you ain't gonna tell them nothing. God help you. If you got a man who actually bought you a car that was worth something, you ain't gonna tell nobody anything. You're not gonna say a word. If your best friend even looks like they gonna slip up and say something, you're gonna kick him in the shin under the table. You're not gonna let anybody tell them that. You're not gonna let them tell you that. You're not gonna tell them that you broke up with him unless or until you can find a fella who at least looks like you can tell a lie and say, you know what, he do the same thing he did. They make about the same amount of money. All right, let me know when your car shows up. Y'all are going to stay dead ass quiet until you have an opportunity to pull that little hat trick off. Once you do, then you might say something. Either that or, your grandmama going to start prying and asking questions because she ain't going to sit up here and wait forever. She's going to be like, okay, you done went on long enough with this little charade you doing. Where that fella you used to be with? Where's he at? That's when your sisters and your female cousins start leaning in. Okay, let's hear this. Well, it didn't work out. Why didn't you say something? We done went through Thanksgiving and Christmas. You ain't said nothing. Yeah, she's not going to take a step down. She's not going to take a step down. It's not happening. There are entirely too many cogs in the machine. There's just entirely too much movement going on. It's not going to occur if she can avoid that. Now, fellas, I want you to understand where the leverage is. The leverage isn't you. The leverage is not you. The leverage is the rest of female society. If you have upgraded a woman, you better be careful. Your life is in danger. Your life is in danger if she stands to lose that. Let's be very, very clear. They're going to get depressed. They're going to start overeating. They're going to be going to therapy. They're going to be on antidepressants. They're going to be sitting up, hobbled off in their room. Your life is in danger if a woman is threatened with having a significant step down in her status. I should know. I should know. The very first time, if she gets upgraded, that is it. You might not be able to hear the wedding bells going off in her head. I assure you they banging. So if she stands a chance of sitting up here having to take a step down, and then she has to come face to face with all these other females, she's like, okay, I finally got out of the single ghetto. Now she's got to go back and admit to them the way it went. Now she's got to go admit that she back down there with them. Oh, no, your life is in danger. That's all I'm saying. Your life, your well-being, your safety is in danger. And the higher up you took them, the worse it's going to be. Now, if you're a simp, if you're a beta, well, that's a different matter. But if you brought your masculinity and the whole package to it, it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing. P Flawed, you said I'm crazy, so we go together forever. All right, fellas, y'all buy her a G-Wagon at your own peril. You buy them red bottoms at your peril. You walk out the store with those, all I'm going to say is I tried to warn you. Y'all think she's joking. She put up laughing emojis. She means that. The first nigga bring her some Prada, that's a wrap. That relationship is ending with a wedding or a body bag. I'll let you have the last word, brother.
Nah, that was excellent. That was excellent. You should charge more for that stuff. Looking forward to the next one, Jason.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Please do give us a call again here. And by the way, I accepted the way it is. I just want you to understand what you're dealing with there. All this talk for all the last couple of years about value, without nearly enough emphasis or explanation about what establishes value, about what value is supposed to do. It is not power if you can't abuse it. And it's not value if it's expendable. It's not value if people can easily walk away from it. It ain't value. It's not value. That's the issue. In the chat room, Miss Money Dawn, you need to call in. So D, go ahead and get I'm telling you, Miss Money, yes, you do need to call in. Let me get called from area code 504. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Michael from New Orleans.
Michael from New Orleans, what's on your mind?
Yeah, what's up, Jason? It's like, like down here in New Orleans, like, you know what I'm saying? Women really value the hoes, like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, fuck that coon ass nigga Kanye. I just want to spit in that nigga face, dog. Like, that nigga's cold coon. Okay. And it really don't matter who wants that bitch ass nigga at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Brother's having a different conversation than we are here tonight, so obviously he's very triggered about that, but thank you very much for giving us a call. I think calm down, sir. No, nobody's putting you with Kanye. Just calm down. It's all right. I know it can be difficult there. I understand, but it's all right. When folks have to take a step down, that registers with them. It's going to register with them when they got to take a step down. And your job, the only reason why I tell you to keep in mind your value, to keep in mind what you're doing, the reason why I tell you to do that is because I want you to understand that is what makes you expendable or what doesn't. Your value as a person, being able to solve financial problems, social problems, political problems. Those are the things that make you valuable. Those are the things that do that. Those are the things that make you more valuable as a person. You have to think about it holistically. That's what makes you more valuable. If you do well at that, then it works. If you don't, it doesn't. And it can drive you nuts. I'm not here to tell you as men, the whole thing I want you to understand here right now is just understand this is a basic concept no matter what your age is. Stop trying to get it into your head to get people to give you intrinsic value. Understand instead about your achieved value. That's the important thing. Have it in your head about your perceived value, because that's going to be what lasts. What's going to last here is your achieved value, not your perceived value. That's the difference. And it can be very bothersome to do that. It can be very bothersome to do that. That can be tough. That can be hard. Because now you're talking about numbers. Let's be very, very clear. When you're talking about numbers, numbers don't move like that. Numbers don't move that way. Numbers are static. Numbers are still. Call from area code 646. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Atlanta, and my name is Steve.
All right, Steve from Atlanta. What's on your mind?
Well, we're making some great points tonight, and I love the program. And I want to talk, and I want to go off like I guess the same basis off of females downgrading, but like even for females that like know they haven't done the work on themselves to upgrade to a better man, like if I were to meet a woman right now knowing that she used to deal with bums and she tries to deal with me, it kind of doesn't even make sense sometimes. And they kind of run this game, and I kind of just want to see your perspective on that.
Okay, well, first of all, those kind of things depend. Because you say, well, if I'm dealing with a woman who, quote, used to deal with bums, there's a couple of questions I got to ask there. How did you end up in this woman's company to begin? If you're not a bum, how did you end up in her company to begin with?
Well, I mean, not to say that I'm not a bum or anything like that. You know what I mean? I know my status probably brought me to in her presence in that sense, but knowing that I'm doing better for myself and I'm going for better caliber men and
right. You say I'm doing better for myself. Doing better than whom?
Than her, or just my situation from yesterday. You know, just in that perspective. Like I'm doing better for myself, and
I'm doing better than my situation yesterday. These all sound like wonderful, colorful colloquialisms. Look it up. These sound like wonderful little figures of speech, but they don't sound like a real thing that a person can actually measure. I don't see how your life could be radically different or substantively different yesterday than it is today, unless you won the lottery or something. So here's the real thing, okay? Slow down. Here's the real thing. When you say if I deal with a woman who used to deal with bums, first of all, you have to make sure that you're not the third bum. Now, if you are, then this really is a non-issue. Now, here's the standard that I give you guys. You don't have to be bigger and better than Kanye or Jay-Z. You just have to be better than the last 3 men she dealt with. Now, if this woman is worth your time to be spending any time with, then first and foremost, what you have to understand is we're dealing with a power dynamic here. So if you are an upgrade for her, what are your requirements? If you constitute an upgrade to a woman, to children, to people in your neighborhood, what is the requirement that you put upon them in order to have access and proximity to you?
I mean, it could just be me just, going into new places, just trying to see what's going on, or going to a bar or a place that I've come to a status to that I wouldn't normally go to, and now I meet a woman, but now I'm getting a better caliber woman.
Yeah, I mean, How is a woman being around you making her into a, quote, better caliber woman?
I won't say better. I mean, you know, she's versus being around 5s and 4s. I'm going around 6s and 8s. in that sense, I won't say she's better in a.
Let me go ahead and deal with something real quick here. Miss Monty Dawn, you have not called in. The phone lines are open right now. We have a caller on the line talking to me right now. You're not on the line. If you're not on the line in the next 60 seconds, you'll be banned. We're not going to play this game. So if you're going to sit up there and talk, if you've been instructed to call in, that wasn't a request. So let's not be a little coward in the chat room. It's very unbecoming for a supposedly alleged grown woman. I'll put the phone number up on the screen in bigger numbers for you. You've got 1 minute to be on the line. So we're not going to play this game. You have not called anything. There's nothing wrong with the phone lines. Phone lines work just fine. Go ahead and make your point, brother.
Well, I just wanted to know, like, just pretty much like you said, it's just my requirements as a person going into a different situation like that. And I mean, you made your point for real. I appreciate it.
Well, do you understand that means something, though?
I'm getting the gist. I was just definitely looking for a little bit more elaboration.
Well, the reason, let's be very, very clear now. A woman is a man's representative. Mm-hmm. So let's be very, very clear about that. Right. That's not really optional there. The quality of female that you have gives us an insight into your value as a man. If the car and the clothes and the woman all match, that's an indicator. Hey, these guys act together. See, notice we're not just taking one data point. The house, the clothes, the look, the competence, the confidence, the woman. When I take a look at your life holistically and I'm like, hey, it's all matching. It all matches. Then I'm starting to see these are cues of competence. You see what I mean?
Okay.
These are cues these are competency cues. You see, when you got a female who looks a certain way, let's just call it what it is. You got a female who looks a certain way. She's got her pick among men, and yet she's sitting next to you. These are cues of competence. A female who represents you well. These are cues of competence as a man. These are things that when I take a look at you and other men are sizing you up and whatnot, because it's the game of survival, it's the game of competition. Yeah, I'm looking at your broad. I'm looking at your broad because I'm sizing up. Hey, what's the competence look like? And vice versa. Vice versa.
Okay.
There's a reason why. Like I say, I'm just going to lay this out for you all right now. I keep things a certain way because a female has to be presentable in a representative mind. I'm not a person who is forward facing in a lot of ways. So a female who I have with me is my representative. I have absolutely no problem. I've told you all for years, I spend much more money on my woman's clothes than I ever will on my own. You know why? Because one of us represents me.
And I'm going to give you a deeper insight. So like you talk about this so much and talking about people around you. And I've been making the effort, studying, doing my thing, and I've had females around me that I thought that was good. You know, you're talking about levels, right? So I thought it was good, and I go around some millionaire guy friends. You know, I'm in Atlanta, so I mean, you know how it is, and they're bringing around their females, and it's just whenever I bring my females, like, dude, like, what do you got going on here? Like, she's not up to par. And when I see their females come through, I'm like, oh, okay. And I just feel embarrassed at this point. So it's like, what's going on here? So like, what you're saying definitely makes sense.
Well, in my situation, although I think it's an all men's situation, to be totally honest with you, it's one of those things. Another man has never been impressed by what I'm wearing. Let me go ahead and put this in perspective for the women out there who wondered about this before. Another man is not impressed by what I'm wearing. Now, if you're dressed bummy, that's a different matter. But as you all know, I'm a documentarian. I've spoken to some of the richest black men in America. They were not impressed by what I was wearing. Nothing I was wearing going to impress Donahue Peoples. It wasn't going to impress him. Now, my female, on the other hand, it's a different matter. So you see, just understand, if you're talking about getting a return, when you're talking about getting a return on your investment, how much of a return as far as impression, how much of a return is Jason Black going to get no matter what he's wearing? And how much of a return is my female next to me going to get? In the exact same situation, exact same room with the exact same people. I believe I get a much higher rate of return based on her.
Yep.
Because here's the thing, the way in which she carries herself, the way in which she comports herself, it would be very clear everything she's wearing from her nose to her toes, I bought. So it becomes very clear who set her up, who upgraded her, who put her where she is. That speaks to other men.
I had to call in to just put that perspective out there because it's so true.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. I need him to sit back and sponge the game. But if you want to talk about where you get your best return on your investment, that doesn't mean you look like a bum. What I'm saying is I want you to understand this is four-dimensional chess when you're dealing in the world of men. So yes, I'm going to take a look at that. That's going to be something that registers to me. If your woman is well kept, that tells me the degree to which you handle business. If she is your representative when she opens her mouth, her hair, everything else, she is your representative. And if she is representing you well, then she needs to look a certain way, sound a certain way. And what I'm saying is that if that is your woman, you're the one got to play dress up doll. Whatever shoes she thought were appropriate, got to get cleared through you. She might be perfectly fine with the purse she got. It might not have passed the test for you. It's got to be cleared. It got to go down the checklist. This got to be cleared. We got to clear you. And that's how you do everything. When I talk about the company car, for example, do you know the reason why I have a company car? The reason why I got company cars is because I don't want to leave anything to chance. I don't know what she's affording or what she isn't. I don't know what lights her fancy or what doesn't. I don't know what, floats her boat as far as vehicles or whatever. But if you're going to represent me, then that's going to be a different matter. If you're going to represent me. Let me get caller from area code 424. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, put down the crack pipe. You're on area code 424. What is your name? Where you calling from?
This is Miss Moni Dunn. I'm calling from Inglewood, California.
Okay, this is Miss Monifa.
Bitch ass motherfucker. Fuck you.
Well, that wasn't very polite now, was it? Sounds
90 seconds.
Sounds like somebody having a schizophrenic episode. Sounds like it. Let me get caller from area code 817. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
60 seconds.
Hi, I'm from Texas, the DFW area.
Okay, and what's your name?
I'm Moni Dawn from the chat.
Hello, Moni Dawn. And what is on your what's on your mind?
Nothing's on my mind. I was told to call in because I said the average weekly earnings per the BLS 2020 stats is $830, which is $39,840 a year, approximately, before taxes. And so everyone's mad because I said that. So why is everyone upset?
First of all, here's the real issue that we have. The reason why we require people to call in is because, unfortunately, in the modern era, most people are congenital degenerate liars, and they usually do what you're doing right now. That is not what you said in the chat. I saw what you said. And now that you got called out about it, rather than you owning up to it, you just decide to start lying out of the gate. So why don't we give you a chance to prove? Why don't we give you a chance to redeem yourself and what little adulthood you have left? Why don't you say what it was you actually said? Or are you just too cowardly to stand by?
As a collective, Black Americans are broke. That's what I said.
You didn't,
as a collective.
You didn't talk about black. The collective.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I made several comments.
No, you didn't.
You can scroll up.
Yes, okay, and that's the reason why, ma'am. As I said, cowards and liars don't tell the truth. What you said was, what percentage of black...
What did I say then?
Be quiet.
If I am misquoting myself,
quiet.
I admit
you are having a schizophrenic episode.
So
you need to shut your drunk self up. Be quiet. Do not talk over the host.
You just going in, you lying to these black men.
You said what percentage of black American men make over $150,000? That's what your drunk high ass said.
Was,
yes, that's what your drunk high ass said.
So where are all these men you talking about?
That is, ma'am, you're drunk. Ma'am, be quiet. I'm going to mute you because you're drunk and you're high and you're stupid. You said what percentage of black American men make over $150,000. And everyone understand these old, elderly, over the age of 50, leftover, ragged out, Aunt Esther looking old females, mad as hell because it's a Friday night and they're by themselves and no one's doing anything for them. Just understand how they ended up on a phone by themselves with their cats mewling in the background. She is angry. She is nasty. She is stupid. And instead of you wondering about what random black men are doing, why don't you tell us what your black man is doing, Granny?
Are broke in Black America, and we need to stop all this back and forth. Y'all are not...
Now, here's another thing. When you've got some old biddy who doesn't know anything, and then she tries to sit up here and act like she's some authority on something, that's sad as hell. She's somebody's ragged out old mama, and she's mad as hell. You need to be worried about the fact that there's no man lining up to do anything for you. The 2% of black men who make over $150,000 a year, none of them, N-O-N-E, none of them is offering to do anything for you. That's why you are so irrationally angry and bitter. That's why you are so irrationally angry and bitter. You could have made much better choices before now. And understand something, she sounds just like the same old ragged out. Remember that old nasty old crone who called in that time? Oh, I'm sorry. Did y'all hear what she was upset about? Now the woman who just got off the phone, she just hung up. What she's angry about, remember, she's saying, you telling them that we making plenty of money. Well, the men that she wants are making money. Yes. Yes, we are making that money. And that's the problem that you have. You have a problem with that. She has a problem with getting passed over. She has a problem with getting bypassed. She has a problem with that. She sees black men who are making things happen, and she's not eligible. By the way, for the other crazy female caller who called in before, I hope we get a wellness check for her. I hope we get a wellness check. If anybody knows her number, the one who was calling in earlier, cussing all crazy, if anybody knows her number and can get a wellness check on her, I'm not sure. But if anybody can find her number and get a wellness check, hopefully we can arrange that. Hopefully. In any case, let's be very, very clear. She had to step down back in the 70s. Okay? She never even had the opportunity to step up. That old heifer had to step down back in the 70s. She's mad as hell about it now, and she's not over it yet. There's some fella out there right now who has some aquarium boots and a big ass hat with a feather sticking out of it and a corduroy jacket, and she is still salty about him to this day. She's still salty about that now. She had to take a step down during the Superfly era, and she's still upset about it. Still upset about it. If you don't make better choices, this is how it ends up. If you don't make better choices, this is how it ends up. You become some little old crashed out, cracked up little old lady sitting on the phone complaining about what well-to-do men aren't doing for you. She's complaining about what the most well-to-do eligible bachelors aren't doing for her. You supposed to be sitting at home booed up right now with the fellow who's going to take you over the horizon. How did you fumble the ball so badly? How did you screw it up so badly? Narcissism and conceit and arrogance, this is what it'll do to you. It's Friday night. She's sitting home with some Metamucil and some milk of magnesia in a room full of cats, complaining about what well-to-do men aren't doing for her. Complaining about what she can't get. And then trying to project her issues on the rest of female society. Ma'am, the train left for you 3 decades ago. You're not eligible. The men that we're talking about, that top 2%, baby, you need to be looking at the bottom 80%. Whoever in the hell will make you a hot dog, that's who you need to be talking to. That's who you need to be talking to. You need to be talking to somebody who's going to sit up here and make you a grilled cheese sandwich. That's what you need to be worrying about. If you could do better, you'd have done better. It's Friday night. It's Friday night. There's a reason that you're over here. And I don't blame you for being mad. But just understand that step down you took decades ago, there's a reason why it's still messing with you. I want the young women to understand she ain't over it yet. She is old as hell and she ain't over it yet. How the hell did you end up at this age and you ain't over it yet? You know why? Because it still hurts. It still stings. It still hurts and still stings. She was a young woman once. She used to have dreams. She used to have ambitions. She figured to herself, one of these days, I'm going to get a fella to give me that good look. And I will finally be able to strut my ass through the salon one of these days. I'll be able to hold my head up high and finally I will be that it chick one time. That's what it's going to be. Now she's 60-something years old. The AARP is trying to kick in. She's trying to calculate how much in Social Security benefits she can be sitting up here getting together and if she can afford her medications. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. She's calling me up, all these well-to-do men, where they at now? Ain't enough of them out here. What you mean is there's not enough to go around for you. You're absolutely correct. There are not enough of us to go around. No, they're not. No. They're not. And if you played your cards wrong in your youth, then yeah, you just get left without a chair when the music stops. That's what happens to you. You get left without a chair when the music stops. And if you think you're going to argue against math, too damn late for that. You're not going to be able to argue against math. Just because you're in your 60s and bitter, that doesn't mean you get to argue against math now. It's a brutally rude awakening to have. You need to stop worrying about what the top 2% of men are doing. You need to quit worrying about that. The top 2% of black men don't know you exist. We don't know you are alive. I recommend that you stop worrying about that and start worrying about the guy who works down at the Scoopy Dip. You know, there's somebody's grandfather somewhere who's, doing the floors at Walmart. I recommend you keep your eyes on him. I recommend you watch out for him. Stop worrying about the men you can't have. Be concerned instead about the one you actually can. That step down is a son of a gun, ain't it? When they got to suffer that step down scars them for life. I started off tonight's program by asking a simple question. Do women ever willfully step down? Answer, hell to the hell no. She will spend the rest of her life trying to figure out a way to get back in that door. If you ask her about it, she'll tell you she's perfectly fine over here panhandling. Meanwhile, you can see her little old soul is just disintegrated into dust. Lessons to be learned here, particularly for the young females. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. I want to thank all of you for joining us here on tonight's program of The Business. We're going to be doing our patron here tomorrow around noontime, so do join us for that as well. If you are new here to The Business, welcome to the program that all of the other YouTube copycats are going to be talking trash about behind our backs. This is the place for you to be. Click that red subscribe button, click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we are here. If you haven't signed up for our patron, we will be doing that tomorrow here. 12 noon, so you definitely want to be joining us here, 12 noon Central Time. So definitely be joining us for that here as well. We got some housekeeping to do. We're definitely going to go ahead and get caught up on that as well. And I want to thank all of you for joining us here tonight. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Cash App, or Super Chat. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, handle your business or your business will handle you.